love it. Thank you guys so much for coming out today. I'm really excited to lead the panel. My name is Sandy Carter, and I'm SVP at Unstoppable Domains. Afterwards, you guys can go out. We have a free domain giveaway out here if you're interested in a free domain. But today, what we're really going to focus in on is building a more inclusive metaverse. How many believe that's important as we move forward? Okay, it should be 100% of the people in the room who believe that this is a great thing. We have a very esteemed group of panelists today, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here with Teddy, and I'm going to have each of the panelists introduce themselves and just mention their name, their company, and why they feel that the metaverse should be inclusive. So Teddy, I'll start first with you.
Yeah, no mic.
Oh, is there another mic or? Yeah. You have 4 mics?
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Teddy PAHAGBIA, born in Africa and raised in France. So I work and I live here, so bonjour tout le monde. It's my first time speaking in French, so it's a little bit awkward, a little bit. But I'm the founder of the CEO of Black Pixel, which is a digital innovation and metaverse consultancy. Right, and we advise brands and companies on how to future-proof their business model. So we launched the company like 3 years ago before all the NFT craze and metaverse craze. And since last year, we have seen some kind of the world became crazy about NFTs and the metaverse. So it was pretty interesting to see that, I was preaching, me and my team, we were kind of preaching in the desert. And now we are working with the most, iconic brands and companies to, just to figure out how they can build new business model and business operation within that new area. So the metaverse should be inclusive by nature. I mean, it should be human by design. And I feel like I end up in that space by, I won't say fate or destiny because this is what it is, right? And I feel like if we forget about the human perspective of all of the things we are talking about, we will leave a lot of people behind. Not behind, but out of the world, right? Because imagine just not having access to your smartphone for a couple of hours or not having access to internet at all. You can't live in this new world we're living in right now. And now we are building the next iteration of that, right? So we are adding an overlay on top of it. So I think there is no question that it should be diverse and inclusive.
Oh. Thank you, Teddy. I really appreciate that. I don't know if you saw the report that came out yesterday, but it revealed that 60% of people view that the metaverse will only be for the elitist, not for every person. So I'm going to skip around a little bit because I don't like panels that go boom, 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 boom. So I'm going to go to LEILA. Can you introduce yourself and tell us why the metaverse should be inclusive?
Sure. Hey everyone, and bonjour. I'm also from France, but I started in the space by founding OYIN, which is a fintech platform. Can you hear? Okay, that digitizes alternative investments by using the blockchain. And basically, as I progressed through the space, I realized how much potential there is and around DAOs and the power of DAOs. And as I attended the conferences around, I really noticed the lack of females in the space. And that's why I started actually All Stars Women. It's an NFT club and DAO, which brings together a big community of female founders, entrepreneurs, and investors. With the aim of providing them access to equal opportunities for them to build their businesses and contribute to the economy and build successful startups. So I'm also the Chief Metaverse Officer at Versus State, which is a hyper-realistic metaverse that brings together and we implement NFT and play-to-earn gaming solutions. And through my work at Verse and at All Stars Women, I really want to build an inclusive metaverse. And I think, Teddy said, it's not even a question why it should be. It should be, it's not even a subject which I think has room for debate. And it's just so important to make sure that everyone is involved in this. I think one of the biggest wealth creation opportunities of our times. So I think that would be what I think.
That's awesome. And you know, the Chief Metaverse title, I don't know if you've seen that, but Chief Metaverse Officer is the #1 requested title by all new graduates today. So just keep that in mind as well. OYIN?
Yeah, good morning. Bonjour, everyone. My name is OYIN ADEBAYO. I am the CEO and founder of NEO. So NEO is a group of companies that specializes in economically empowering Black women globally to get into tech. I was really bothered by the fact that less than 1% of the tech space is made up of Black women. And you can even see that's even worse in the Web3 space. So yeah, like we've been working on various kind of projects. One of them is about kind of running boot camps to kind of get Black women and onboard Black women into this space. But also we're building a DApp where essentially 90% of our team is made up of Black women because we want to build what we want to see. I'm also a governor at a DApp called HURSTEL. HURSTEL is a female and non-binary DAO that essentially onboards as many female non-binary people into the Web3 space. So yeah, I'm super excited to have this conversation today. And yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, and last but not least, Sophia.
Hi, everyone. Is this on? No? Hello? Hello? Here we go. Hello. Thank you so much for getting up early today and joining us. I know last night was a very exciting party. My name is Sophia SHLUGER. I'm the managing director for Amber Group. Amber Group is a global leading digital asset company. We are a massive liquidity provider and market maker, trading 5% of the daily volume of crypto. We also manage $5 billion worth of assets on our platform. But above and beyond that, we actually are launching a Web3 enablement platform called OpenVerse, which will come out in the third quarter. And it is designed to empower brands, businesses, and creators to build communities, engage with consumers, and monetize their business in Web3 and the Metaverse. In fact, just a small little shameless plug on that, we are the global partner and main partner to Atletico Madrid, the Spanish football team. Whalefin, our flagship platform, will be on their shirt. And the reason I mention that is because we are building Athletiverse, which is going to be a metaverse within our greater Openverse Web3 platform. So we are a crypto-native company, fintech unicorn, and we built our entire tech stack. So we are building infrastructure and rails for Web3 and the metaverse and are very passionate and excited about what's coming. In terms of inclusivity in the metaverse, I agree with everything the panelists have said. I'm not sure I can add anything more intelligent there, except that when I reflect upon the real world and I see all of the shortcomings that we face, unfortunately, just for example, on a gender basis, seatbelts were designed with the average male body in mind. They do not, safely really account for the way in which women use cars and the way that they drive, typically, more forward than men. Medicines, bathrooms, the list goes on and on. So the point is, there's a lot of a lack of understanding and acknowledgement that legal frameworks, medicines, things that we depend on for safety, for well-being, were not designed with women in mind. And so, just thinking about that and thinking about how we can improve and do better in the metaverse, to me, is something that is really important. And I think that will involve a lot of participation, but I guess we'll get into that. Anyways, thanks so much for being here, and happy to be here on the panel.
Awesome, thank you. So we have an awesome panel, right? Don't you think? Yeah. Okay, so let's get right into it then. So we've all talked about why representation is really important in the metaverse. And we've heard some facts where people actually don't think that's going to be the case. So what I would love to know from you is, what could brands do or others who are in the metaverse do to ensure that we've got this really strong representation? And Owen, I'm going to start with you first.
I think it has to start with the brands understanding the world that we live in. The world we live in is incredibly diverse, and oftentimes, if you've grown up in a home that is full of people that look like you, you're not forced to actually look outside. So you're forced to kind of like engage with people that look like you. So it's important for us to understand in the global scheme of things that you know, our world is not just white people. You know, our world is full of, we have Asians, we have black people. So it starts from there. It also also stems into like looking at the different continents. I think oftentimes in the West we look at things from our little silos, but look broader, look into Africa, look into Asia, and tap into that. I think it's also important to understand the cultures and the different like ways of thinking of diverse backgrounds, and then kind of like provide solutions for them, and engage with them in that way. So I think if it starts from home, it starts from looking back and seeing how can I engage with more people from diverse backgrounds.
Very good statement. I really think that's powerful. And if you think about her statement on Africa, I don't know if you guys know, but by 2035, there'll be more tech skills in Africa than any other part of the globe. 2035, more tech skills in Africa than any other part of the globe. Sophia, what do you think? What can brands do?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no silver bullet, right? I mean, I think at the end of the day, they need to make sure they have the right representation on teams that are making very important strategic decisions about deploying investment, deploying product design. You know, inclusion, diversity needs to be part of the conversation from the very get-go. You know, I mean, on the financing side, you know, $120 billion has poured into Metaverse investments in the first 5 months of this year. That is double the amount of last year. And so maybe not on a brand side, but on a venture capital side, we need to make sure, you know, that community obviously it has its own diversity issues, but with the money that is being deployed, we have to make sure that they're investing in organizations that if they don't have the full representation diversity, that at least it's top of mind and they're going to be doing something about it. So, you know, I really believe that it stems from the top in terms of strategy, in terms of investment, in terms of product design. This can't be a nice to have. It can't be an afterthought. It has to start from the very beginning.
Teddy, I saw you shaking your head violently. Do you agree? Or what do you want to add too?
No, I agree totally with what this amazing ladies just said, and it's very true. When I advise brand, what I told them is that they cannot escape to answer the question of their identity in the metaverse age. I'm talking about the metaverse age, because now they have the ability to incarnate themselves into an environment, into an experience. How would they design that experience, right? Would it be like the North Pole, the desert, Mars, Jupiter? So, and to be able to design a space that represents their values, principle, and ethos, they have to think about it. They cannot escape this question no more, right? And when you enter into those spaces, right, I mean, the new version of the chatbot, it's an avatar, super chat by AI. So this avatar will look like me when I enter into that space, or the blonde, Scandinavian guy. So, so if they have to give their audience something they can relate to. I mean, we are talking about business, right? And more people buy from companies that they can relate to. So if the target is diverse, there has to be as diverse as their target is in terms of representation, in terms of experience, and just as Sophia has mentioned, in order to achieve that, they have to onboard people that look like the target in their team or even leading those teams. This is it, nothing else.
I love that. One of my favorite quotes is, if you can see it, you can be it. And I think that's what Teddy just really talked about. Okay, Leila, what do you want to add to the conversation about what brands can do?
Well, I really agree with everything that Sophia, Teddy, and Oya said. It definitely makes complete sense. And like Sophia actually said, the metaverse should be inclusive from its inception and not be considered an afterthought. Yeah, and besides gaming, as the metaverse evolves and as we spend more and more time building businesses and studying and working in the metaverse, it's really going to be, I think, crucial for everyone to make sure that we're together in this, and that like it's not only about building diverse looking avatars or by providing laptops to everyone. I think brands really need to work together to make sure that we address as well the physical challenges that people may face. Like, for example, building voice controlled interfaces for those who can't use conventional keyboards, for example. And this is what brands need to do to make sure that these spaces are genuinely inclusive. And as well, like Teddy mentioned, these underrepresented groups and those who are facing as well the physical challenges and those who are targeted, they need to participate in the metaverse not only as consumers, but also participate as their builders and as their architects.
I'm interested. If you guys had to just give me one brand that's doing it right, who would you guys say? Anybody want to shout out one brand that's doing it really well today?
We are still very early. Yeah. So, sorry. I think that we are still very early. Some brands are doing very well in the space, right, in terms of business operation and how they propel themselves into that new space. Adidas is doing great, but after the team has left, as you know. And yeah, I mean, in terms of business operation and initiative into that space, we see, we have seen great initiative, right? But in terms of inclusion and diversity, it's not there yet. But it makes sense because those brands and companies, they are still building their teams internally, right? And they are facing a lot of challenges, attracting the right talents and providing them with what they need in order to stay in that company, because Web3 is like the new internet, right? And Web3 is an infrastructure layer of the internet, right? Of the metaverse. So what is happening right now, we are seeing the greatest mind, greater architects, engineers, and everything flying out from the big techs to launch their own company or to join Web3 startups, right? So it's a challenge for the industry. We are still very early.
Awesome. Anybody else want to do a shout out to a brand that's doing it right?
I think that although it's these brands haven't necessarily kind of done anything from what I've noticed on the metaverse. I think Netflix really doing such a great job right now in terms of ensuring that they are inclusive, and it's actually affecting their bottom line, and you can see the results on their bottom line. There's another brand which is British Birmingham based, which is where I reside at the moment. Gymshark doing awesome with that too, ensuring essentially that they are targeting everyone. I mean, I had a conversation with the chief brand officer of Gymshark, Noel Mack, and they're talking about how he engaged with Burna Boy and did an activation, and how that actually again contributed to their bottom line, that authentic nature of the brand. So those two brands comes to mind immediately.
What does Gymshark do?
So Gymshark is a gym wear brand,
Oh,
so it's
gym. Okay,
fitness
got it.
wear.
Okay.
So they're actually a unicorn. They're mostly popular in the UK. So yeah.
Thank you. Any other brands?
I'm not going to mention any or endorse any brands, but one thing that sort of came to mind was, I don't know if you're familiar in the film industry of the Bechdel test, which is basically testing films and narrative content to check if there are two main female characters, if at any point in that narrative the two females speak to one another, and if the two females speak to one another about something other than a man. And actually, very sadly, despite this industry being over 100 years old, very small % of films actually showcase women in that sort of a, non-male, man-focused centric conversation. So I think just thinking back to the last question about, how can we, ensure inclusivity is, whether it be a body or some sort of standard where we're constantly checking to see how things are being built and whether or not the representation is correct, accurate, and inclusive. So I don't know. I would just suggest that we find a way to have some sort of a way to test and to really check what we're building and how we're building it.
Interesting. And what was the name of the test again?
It's called the Bechdel test.
Bechdel test. Okay, great. Awesome. Any brand that you want to call out, Leia?
No, I think I don't have any specific brands in mind, but I think as well in the sports industry, like Gymshark, many of the brands are becoming much more inclusive. Like even in real life, like you see the mannequins, they're like from all shapes and all colors. So it's great to see this, and definitely they should carry it. They should carry on this direction when they like shift to the metaverse.
Okay, great. So I'm going to shift over now, and I'm going to talk about how women and minorities today are really using NFTs and the metaverse to drive social change. So, Sophia, I'm going to go back to you first on this question.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on NFTs. We actually do have NFT integration on our platform, but you know, there's one collection in particular called World of Women, or WOW. I'm not endorsing that, you know, specifically, but it's one that gets referenced quite often because the creator, I'm going to butcher her name, Yam Kardai, came out with these 10,000 NFTs about a year ago, and they were sold out within minutes at like 0.07 ETH. I think they're now trading, I haven't checked, but you know, around 8 or 9 ETH. But basically, the whole motivation behind the collection was to demonstrate and represent women of different backgrounds, diversity, ethnic, you know, heritage, interest, et cetera. And it's been a huge success. Partially, perhaps, due to the endorsement by Reese Witherspoon and accurate representation by an agent who manages another very lucrative NFT collection. So, I mean, in terms of, you know, that is one example of which, you know, a woman artist, creator who really believes in NFTs has been able to put out a collection that has gotten a lot of, you know, interest. And you know, seeing it be a success, given the fact that it is doing something positive for the world, for society, is great. But of course, it also came with celebrity endorsement and popularity. So at the end of the day, I think it's about motivating creators, particularly women or minorities, to ensure that they understand there are opportunities and that there are ways to, you know, promote your collection. You know, hopefully, if it is, you know, in a positive spirit for society. So that's one that I would just mention because it's been a huge success, and I think it's inspired a lot of other collections.
Outstanding. Teddy, what about you? Good example. Oh, sorry. Oh, there you go.
We got a couple of, you know, incredible collection like World of Women, BFF, Women Rise, and I mean, for me, it was such a relief to see, you know, women literally smashing it into this space, you know, and this is crazy, and because their founders understood that Web3 and the metaverse is permissionless. The barrier to entry is 0, right? Artifact Studio, we are in France. You all know Benoit and Artifact, right? They started in France like 2 years ago with nothing. A team of 3 people. 2 years later, on all of the billboards on Times Square, with a valuation of 4 billion, starting from scratch. With what? The power of the community. This is it. And you know, and this woman-led project, I mean, they are doing so great because they found their community, right? And they gather that community towards a common goal. And this is why they are doing so well into that space. So my advice to, you know, all underserved people and the communities is to understand that they have now the tools at disposal to gather and build together what they want to see into that world. The change they want to see, they can literally build it now. And this is the beauty of Web3 and the Metaverse.
I love that. I'll just mention 2 other examples. Black Women Blockchain. If you haven't seen that group, it's an amazing group. It's based out of the US, but they're hitting global. They do fantastic videos online, and they are really working to get the next 1 million Black women into blockchain, which is, you know, the foundation for Web3 and the metaverse. And then one that no one mentioned was Ancient Warriors, which is an NFT collection. I don't know if you know them, but they're all drawn by Black or brown artists, primarily from Africa. Doing very well as well. So check out those 2. Okay, so next question. Owen, I'm going to start with you on this one. How is the metaverse unlocking potential for the creator economy, and in particular, empowering people globally?
Love that question. So in Neo, we have a brand called Neo DAP, where we're essentially trying to onboard non-crypto, non-Web3, people that really don't actually care about, you know, blockchain and all of the technical language into Web3. I still think that we're still not reaching the best of the creators. I mean, in the Neo community, we have about 4,000 Black women, and a lot of them are influencers of today, you know, who have like 300K followers on Instagram, but we're not tapping into those people. So we saw that problem, and we wanted to bring a solution to that. So I think that for us to be able to do that, we need to simplify our language. We need to kind of like essentially make them understand the benefit of how an NFT can kind of engage and how an NFT can actually benefit them. I remember I was speaking to the ex-CEO of MAC Cosmetics, and she was like, well, I have an NFT, but I don't know what to do with it. It's just a JPEG. and actually that really struck a chord with me, because I was kind of like, that's an interesting point. So what we really need to do is to actually kind of have more utility that's embedded with the solutions that we're bringing into. So yeah, so NeoDAP essentially is working on that. So what we're doing is essentially allowing creators to be able to showcase their fashion items, their makeup items, their hair items, anything in that space. Their users will be able to try it on, mint it like an NFT, and then get raw products. And that for us, based upon research, has been something that actually has kind of really engaged with non-Web3, non-crypto natives. For us to do that and for us to scale this space, we really need to simplify our solutions and make it a lot more relatable and make them understand how they can actually reach it. You know, we spoke about, you know, one NFT is like 0.7 ETH. How many average people would be able to afford 0.7 ETH? So why don't we fractionalize that, you know? How do we fractionalize NFTs? And again, that's something, that's what we're doing, so that everybody and anyone, and it can truly be permissionless, can actually have access to this space. So yeah.
Good examples. Great, thank you. Leila, what about the creator space? What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I think rather than the walled and segmented gardens of Web 2, Web 3 promises actually to offer a seamless and integrated experience for individuals, making it easy for them to switch like from platform to platform. And it's through the use of tools like NFTs and cryptocurrencies and blockchain applications that the power is transferred back from those internet tech giants that hold a monopoly to the internet community, who now have the opportunity to regain full control and ownership over their data, assets, and digital identity. And if built properly, the Web3 will reward creativity like never before. Now creators can freely create content, share it with their network, and monetize it and earn a living from it. And the beauty of the metaverse is that anyone can be a creator. And like one thing I wanted to say is that I think it's very important to make sure that the metaverse is kept open and interoperable, to like really make sure that there is as much economic value created for society as a whole. Because if it's kept closed, then only a small elite group of people will benefit from it. So I think there's definitely a huge like creator-driven ecosystem that can be built, which offers like limitless possibilities.
So creators are really important, as well as founders. You know, all of you guys had mentioned that when you have a female-founded or a minority-founded company, we also have more great results that are diverse or inclusive. But the recent studies showed that while female founders are 15% more profitable, they're 40% less likely to get funded. So think about that. Female founders are 15% more profitable, but they're 40% less likely to get funded. So how do we shift that model so we have more founders entering into the metaverse space? And Owen, I'm going to go to you first because you're like all with me. You're going to jump off the chair. So let's hear it.
This topic really like irks me. Even more specifically, sorry, again, I'm going to bring the Black women into space. So you mentioned the 15%. Like in the Black women space, it's like 0.1% of Black women get funded. I think the problem is kind of like, how do we have more diversity even in the funding landscape as well? So how do we get more female investors? And where does that? How do we actually like garner that interest? because there's another shocking statistic in the UK specifically. Only one black female got Series B funding over the last 2 years. One, not even one. And when I read that in a research paper, I was like, you can't be kidding me, right? And the thing is, there's a lot of like female-founded businesses that are killing it, and again, as you said, very profitable. Now, I think the solution is that we need to remove our bias classes, and a lot of female-founded businesses are going to be things that males can't understand. So it's actually, how do you get more females on your board of advisory to actually look at the business case and think, wow, how lucrative is this business to my fund, rather than just looking at it from a male lens. But also there needs to be more push for getting more female investors into the space as well. That's just my answer. I think I'm more angry about it than actually. So yeah, my solution to that is get more female investors into the space. Yeah.
Leila, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said, and I think the current funding gap crisis for females is not only a moral crisis, but an economic one as well, and missed opportunities worth like trillions of dollars. And like you said, I think to get more women funded, we need more women who write checks. Like right now, if you look at the VC world, like on the executive level, there's a huge gender imbalance. Like there is barely any females who are at this executive level. So I really think that VCs and corporates and funds need to make sure that they keep diversity at the heart of their company culture, and that they really hire more females who can write the checks. And sometimes female founders, like, they often let their fears and insecurities get in the way of dreaming big. So if they have like female investors at this executive level, they have mentors that they can look up to and be inspired by. And yeah, that's I think as well, that would be pretty much like what I think. And in order to do this, there needs to be like better recruitment infrastructures, and ladies need to get more access to training and more job opportunities. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much. If you guys could go check out a company called Portfolia. They're based in the US, and what they do is they train women on how to invest, and they formed pods of women to do investment in other female and minority-founded companies. It's very, very powerful. So take a look at that, especially if you're here in Europe. I know that the founder, would like to expand it into Europe as well. It's doing really, really well today. Okay, I don't know if you guys can believe it or not. We only have 5 minutes left. We just went through 40 minutes. We flew through it. So what I'd love to do is I'd love to have each of you leave us like a tweetable quote, a piece of action or advice that you would leave everyone here in the audience, which we have a great big audience. And I will just go right down the line this time, if that's okay. So Teddy, I'm going to start with you. Your tweetable quote, you get 140 characters to leave us your best advice of this entire conference. Everybody's got their phones up. They're ready to go.
No. I just want to add on, what we were saying about founding woman-led ventures. I think it's a global issue. It's not just into Web3 tech space and on the metaverse. I mean, all for the planet are women. I'm black. I'm coming from Africa, and we have a vision of women. They carry the world because they give birth to the world, right? How can we build the world without them? I mean, this is nonsense. And if there is an issue for an underrepresented community we have to solve right now, it's this one. Seeing only male, leaders, C-level executive, economics, government, politics, anything, you name it. It's a fucking nonsense. Excuse my French.
Oh, is that French? Oh, okay.
Now, my quote is that if we have to compare the paradigm shift, which is happening right now into, with some of the greatest events that happen into human history, what we are living right now, it's at the scale or even bigger than the extinction of the dinosaurs. We are building not just the next decades, but the next centuries, if not the next millennials, on chain, right? So it's really critical that we make sure that as a human society at large, as a civilization, that what we are building for the next generation will be worth our legacy, because that will be our, I would say, it will incarnate who we are as a species. And this is more than critical.
Thank you. I think that was a few more than 140 characters, but I'll let you go. Okay. Erwin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that if the Web3 space wants to scale the right way, we have to make sure that we are touching the hearts of the everyday person. So in remote villages, in the ends of the world, we really, really, really need to touch the hearts and the minds as well of those people. So that's my 140 characters.
I love that. Thank you. Sophia.
Yeah, I think I sent you my 140 characters
You did,
already.
but I'm going to ask you to say it now.
I just want to say one last thing on the VC funding topic. The research has shown that overwhelmingly when men pitch a business idea, they are constantly asked and tested for, what's going to go right, what could potentially go right, what could, what could explode. Whereas when women pitch ideas, the questions and conversation is incredibly negative, and it's all about what could go wrong, what could go wrong. And so starting the conversation from a place of opportunity and possibility is where that discussion needs to start. So I just wanted to add that. Look, got so many different things to say, don't have much time. I mean, look, digitization is the most important theme of our lifetime. And with the advent of Web3, which is a token-based, on-chain, next iteration of the internet, which is user-owned and user-first, I mean, that is going to be incredibly disruptive. And what's really exciting about it is that the possibilities are endless and open. And lastly, the economic incentives that exist in this new framework is unparalleled. And so I'm just very excited to be involved. I'm excited to be working at Amber Group, where we are building the digital future for everyone, and really excited to meet all of you and see how we could work together. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophia. Okay, last but not least, LEILA.
Yeah, so I'd just like to add that it's definitely not easy to resolve all the issues regarding diversity and inclusion, and they're not going to get resolved overnight. But Web3 is still a blank canvas, and we can all be intentional about our path. So I think now is the perfect opportunity to seize this time and to make sure that we build it as inclusively as possible. We all work and collaborate together and not replicate the same mistakes as in Web 1 and Web 2.
Awesome. Hopefully you've enjoyed this panel and learned something today. And takeaway, the metaverse must be inclusive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I live in London.
Yeah, can we do